Igris, one of the most important shadows in the story, has a backstory, and we're getting it from Solo Leveling Arise. So we're going to cover it here today. I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to subscribe if you're new, and let me know what you guys think about all this. So Solo Leveling Arise is the brand new, it's released in some parts of the world, but also upcoming mobile game / PC game on the Solo Leveling series by Netmarble. And to give you a bit of backstory, forgive me if this has been explained somewhere because it is mentioned as an Arise exclusive. I haven't seen any side piece material, things like that, to kind of explain this character or other characters. I've only watched the anime. I've also only read the manhwa, and by the manhwa, I have not completed reading. I took a little bit of break because I binged it all in 2 days. I haven't completed reading the epilogue is what it's called, right? After, the end of the story, and then there's a little bit that kind of happens. You get that, right? So I'm not trying to spoil. So anyway, that's kind of my extent of it. I have started reading the light novel as well, though. That one just takes a little bit of time. All right, let's see what they've got to say about Igris here. Before becoming a shadow soldier, Igris was a human. His godlike swordsmanship brought him wealth, honor, and popularity, but he considered them nothing more than annoying accessories. By the way, I just want to say this. If you're interested in whether or not this is canon, just for context, most of the time when a gacha game does something like this, it is literally with, what's the word? Authorization from people that would be able to give an authorization on this. Now, I don't know the details about the author of Solo Leveling. I don't know anything about it. I honestly, I don't want to say this, but somebody told me that he had passed. I don't know that. I haven't looked that far into it. So I guess in that case, it could be a little tricky. But nonetheless, it's just, again, nice to have a little bit of information. His godlike swordsmanship brought him wealth, honor, and popularity, but he considered them nothing more than annoying accessories. Igris wanted to achieve more. Although he already possessed skills that no one could surpass, he believed that somewhere there was an opponent who would bring him more excitement and thrill than he had ever felt in this life. This drove him to do his best no matter the battlefield. He aimed to climb higher. His wish would be fulfilled someday. He was sure of it. As his number of victories grew, his achievements soared. His situation didn't change much. Despite his unusually rapid success, his final position was only that of a low-ranking knight. This was partly because of his background and partly because of his jealous nobles that are around him. But for him, his position as a knight was just a means to an end. The more he saw the battlefield, the faster he would reach his goal. He stood his ground and carried out his duties while withstanding the exhausting barrage of backhanded compliments from the nobles. The nobles who praised his performance in the early stages of the war sensed a shift. The people who looked at Igris with respect and envy now looked at the noble with a mocking gaze. After all, they couldn't even hold the enemy armies at bay. And it wasn't just a change in the views of the people. The king had begun to trust Igris more than anyone else and followed him without question. The nobles felt threatened. They began to ring. Okay, I was like, wait a minute, what? Wring their hands. My bad. I was doing so good narrating. I was like, man, I should apply for a narration job in this. Anyway, they began to wring their hands and wonder, how long before all the benefits we've enjoyed are stolen by Igris? Oh, they are super jealous. They came to an agreement. Igris must be killed. The plot that shaped Igris' fate was carried out on the battlefield, of course. Igris' soldiers, were surrounded not by enemy troops, but by their former allies, wrongfully accused of treason. Of course, with Igris' skills, dealing with the nobles as soldiers wouldn't have been difficult. But he hesitated to defend himself. His brothers, his wife, and his children had been taken by the nobility. Their lives depended on his choice. Once more, his desire to face an even greater challenge arose. He had to make a decision. He turned and saw his child. They looked just like him. They reached for him, and in their eyes, he saw himself. Ruin beyond the point of return. The passionate knight who once pursued his honorable goal was no longer there. All that remained was a monster in the blood-stained armor, grinning like a ghost. He had become so overwhelmed by bloodlust that he hadn't even realized he had and lost the will to improve himself. Oh, I get it. He had become so overwhelmed by bloodlust that he hadn't even realized that he had. and he lost the will to improve himself. Now, he was a little bit a murderer who killed for pleasure. This wasn't the legacy he wanted. Just once more, he wanted to feel how he felt when he was young. The sword he had used for so long on the battlefield was in turn used to kill him. He writhed in agony, admitting to a crime he had never committed. In his last moments, he saw his family fall to the blade. God dang. He thought everything would end with his death, but he was merely the beginning of the bloodshed. The last thing he saw was his child's hand still reaching for him as they fell lifeless to the ground. Then, the pitch black darkness unfolded before his eyes. Wandering in the darkness, Igris raged at those who took everything from him and waited for the time to take revenge. When a voice said, "Arise," I just got chills from that. Rise. Oh, as if understanding his long-held resentment, he realized the moment had arrived. Now, he thought, I can finally put an end to this. Embracing his old grudges and unfulfilled desires, Igris became a shadow and took up his sword. Oh my God, that is so cool. That is so cool. I mean, that's tragic, by the way. That shit is tragic. That is tragic, man. Oh man. So wait, his brothers, his wife, and his children were all taken and killed, it looked like. They got so jealous that they set him up and said he was being treasonous. Wow. But that's, you know what? That's not the most most groundbreaking story, because that's a near similar plot that you see in a lot of shows. A lot of shows try to set up something like that, especially if if they take place in like a time period similar to this, where there's knights and kings and all that stuff. They do some shit like that all the time, right? So it's not like the most groundbreaking story, but to see that it happened to Igris and his resentment is just interesting. I also really like the nugget for why his armor is blood red and why they call him the Blood Red. Because this dude is just such a monster. He's just stained it with blood. Oh my God, that's crazy. I thought it was a stylistic choice. I should have thought more about it in the fact that it's called, blood red. In fact, in the anime, I think they just called him the Red, right? Or maybe in this game, in fact, they call him just the Red. One of the two. They call him just the Red one. But anyway, yeah, I should have thought of that. What did you guys think about the Igris backstory? That was kind of touching, man. That's kind of crazy. It's also interesting how he lost himself. He got to a point where he was just doing it just to do it. He just, I guess, enjoyed killing because he was overwhelmed by the bloodlust. He hadn't even realized that he lost himself, as it said, things like that. He was just, it says he killed for pleasure. So he got to a point where he just enjoyed killing people. He just became so strong. And it's funny because in the beginning, they're like, he believed that somewhere that there was an opponent who would bring him more excitement and thrill than he's ever felt in this life. This drove him to do his best, no matter the battlefield. He aimed to climb higher. His wish would be fulfilled someday. He was sure of it. but that kind of doesn't really happen. He just kind of gets backstabbed and holds a grudge that's probably centuries long. And then all of a sudden, Jinwoo shows up. Oh, that gave me chills. I want to say huge shout out to the Master Will. If you're not following them over on Twitter, they've been I shouted them out a while ago. It looks like they're growing pretty nicely over here. They have been doing a lot of data mining for Solo Leveling Rise. Forgive me if this has been published in the game. I don't know, but I only saw their data mine. And that's the whole reason I did the video. So follow them. Be sure to follow them for more just content like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe to me if you are new. Hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time. Take it easy.